All right, people. So, our final review of the day is going to be for the television series there, Alien Earth. This is a television series from the mind of Noah Hawley. They're based in the Alien universe there. Um, with this here, it's trying to take a little bit of a new concept than what we've seen from the past, the Alien movies there. And people were excited. Noah Hawley, we talked about it. We did an initial review of it, the first two episodes of it we did because it
Yeah, I
dropped
think so.
there. Noah Hawley, he's known for doing such TV shows as he did Fargo. He did Legion, big fan of Legion. I've only seen the first few seasons of Fargo. Those were good. I didn't really watch the rest of the seasons, but
I think I've
uh,
seen all of them. The first one I still think is the best, but I
yeah.
liked all of them, even if I didn't think they were as good as the first.
Okay, so he did that. He's also Legion mentioned that before, which big fans of Legion. Both of us are.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I think it's the best X-Men adaptation, period.
Yeah. And so what's happening here in Alien Earth here? Just to catch people up there, and we are going to be doing spoiler talk for this season to get in all some of the details there of it. So we are going to be doing that. If you have not seen it, then exit and then watch all those 8 episodes, and then come back. And these are full 8 hour long 8 episodes here, pretty much. They use that runtime there for that hour. So in this here, so it starts off there talking about this child there that was sick. You had Wendy there, he's played by Sydney Chandler. She's using that nipple powers there, got in there. She's the daughter of Kyle Chandler there. And she's this dying girl there, and then all of a sudden then they offer her a chance at a new life there. They can be put in this synthetic body there, so you have the minds of these dying children put into these synthetic bodies there. That's who Sydney Chandler is playing there, the synthetic body that the little girl's mind gets put into. And then she gets friends, she gets some more people there that also are part of this experiment, this program here. And the person who's conducting this program here,
Neil
it
Gaiman.
yeah, Neil Gaiman, you want to call him there. But it's this boy genius there who's head of this company called Prodigy there. And we talked about this when we talked about the first 2 episodes. This is the first time we've ever heard of Prodigy there, as far as I know of.
Yeah, I mean it's possible in one of like the comic books or novels or something. Maybe it was brought up somewhere, but as far as like the movies and live action stuff that have all been done, it's definitely not been in any of those.
Cavalier is, I believe his name
Yeah,
is
Boy
good.
Cavalier.
Boy Cavalier, who's the youngest trillionaire there, this incredibly rich guy. So they mentioned some of the lore in the show, how basically the world is controlled by these 5 corporations there. One of them is Prodigy, and we also see Wayland Yutani, who comes in there as well, which is of course the company that people all know and love from the Alien franchise there. So yeah, he basically has experiments. He's trying to extend life, so basically make people immortal. If we can transfer the minds and consciousness of people into these bodies, they basically can never die and can live forever, basically there. So yeah, you have that kind of setup there with this. And then also, the basis for this show here, one of the main plots is, of course, the xenomorph. The xenomorph, there's a spaceship that crashes to Earth there. The first episode starts off as your traditional setup for an alien, kind of for like the first Alien movie, where you have a crew, the creature gets loose there on the crew. The spaceship ends up kind of crashing, kills most of the members of the crew except one person there. And the one person that survives there is Moro there, who's played by Babu Sisi there, and he's a
One of the
cyborg.
standouts of the season, I think, too.
Yeah, I think he's one of the better people in the show. So he's a cyborg. He has like a morphing arm there,
Which
as
is
well as
also something we haven't really seen in this franchise before either.
yeah. So they introduced kind of something new there with that, and the synthetics with the minds of like human beings. Again, we mentioned before, I think in the premiere, that that could have been in a book or maybe a video game or something like that. I have not seen that really before them do it in the Alien movies or anything else, but that could have been somewhere else. But first time I'm seeing it here. So he's one of the crew members that survives, and he has a task from Wayland Yutani to capture the xenomorph. Of course, as they always are interested in the xenomorph, bringing it back for studying. So that's his main objective there. And Progeny also gets involved of also wanting and jockeying for position to get this creature. So yeah, it's kind of like these two companies seemingly battling for who's going to get this creature, and then all these other people stuck in the middle of this, and the creature, the xenomorph, and some other alien creatures that we see in here. Do you know if any of those other alien creatures we've been introduced to before in the alien world?
I'm pretty sure they're all new.
Okay, so they're also all new. You have that. So yeah, you have all these different alien creatures that these companies want to experiment it on and use for various other things that they want to use to test on. All at the expense of everyone else around them, even though how dangerous these actual things are. So now it's all wrapped up. It's all done. 8 episodes. What are your thoughts here, Sage, on Alien Earth?
Yeah, well, I talked to gave a lot of praise after we did the first 2 episodes, and my tune hasn't really changed. I still think that this is easily the best thing that's come out since the second film. I mean, the competition's not exactly tough for me to be able to make that statement, right? But this does introduce new ideas. It introduces new concepts. It asks questions. Uh, and I do think that there's an interesting kind of spiritual sense of Blade Runner that this is really trying to do, almost more so than it even really wants to be about Alien and what you expect from an Alien property. In some ways, this almost feels more like it's a Blade Runner show with alien elements in it. And I think that that's for the best because, again, we've explored kind of the same thing so many times with the movies that you needed a little something different here. Um, and I like that, with these kids that get put into these adult bodies, they make a lot of, these very overt references to Peter Pan and have these code names for all of them. But in a lot of ways, I think by the end of the season, it ended up literally being a sci-fi retelling of Peter Pan with a Blade Runner aesthetic. Like that kind of is how I would describe the show. And I think that ended up working. I really think that sort of, let's take a story and reinterpret it around a different property ultimately paid off. I think there's some interesting stuff at the end, especially. But I will say they do ask a lot of questions, and then they kind of kick the can down the road to the second season a little bit. Now, I don't think it ends on a bad note or anything like that. I was enjoying this all the way through, but I did feel like, as far as like a resolution goes, they maybe could have just had maybe a finer punctuation mark at the end. It feels like they maybe could have had another episode or two, maybe in
Hmm.
the season, just to, I don't know, maybe just to feel like a story arc really got closed off. Because I kind of expected like, oh, maybe they'll escape the facility at the end. Um, you kind of have the security of the facility fall, and there's a change of who's in charge. But I think this is one worry the show maybe has for me going into the second season is I hope we don't kind of stay in this lab environment throughout the whole second season and it's just the character dynamics that are different, because I think going into the show, and especially in those first 2 episodes, you get to see the ship crash right into this huge skyscraper, and you get to see into the city, and you kind of see the first responder sort of aspect of how the city's dealing with the disaster. And I feel like as the season goes on, and again, this isn't to say it's bad, but I do think we get very settled into this laboratory on this one island, and we don't leave it all that much. And I think for a show called Alien Earth, I do want to see a little more of society at large. Like I like the intimate character storytelling here, but I do wish maybe we just got to a little bit greater of a sense of, oh hey, there's 5 companies. What are the names of the other 3? Could we maybe see them in popping up or interacting a little bit more? Can we see people in the city every day in their daily life? And I feel like you get a few snippets of that with Morrow, but I feel like it's mostly in like episodes 2 and 3. And then once we get about the halfway point, it's like I feel like we're kind of always in the same place. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that place is interesting, but I wish there was just a little bit more of Earth.
Mm,
just seeing a little bit more of Earth instead of kind of being, because I think the idea of like, the movies are all bottle films. They're taking place either on a spaceship or a planet with very little on it, right? And it's kind of always one of those two things. Finally, we're doing something different. This is Earth. There's cities all over the planet. It's the trillions of people living here, and then I feel like we don't explore as much of that environment as we could. You know?
mm. Yeah, you mentioned the first responder team. You have that, and then one of them on that team is a medic who's the brother of Wendy there, and the brother there is Joe, who's played by Alex Lauter there.
Yeah. Who
He
I really liked him. He was great in Andor as well, not long ago.
Oh, okay, he was in Andor, and then I thought I recognized him. He was in that great Black Mirror episode. If you ever seen that episode, "Shut Up and Dance," remember that episode?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, he was
Okay,
that one,
yeah,
yeah. And he was in that great episode. So yeah, he's the brother in this, and he's the medic there, part of the like security service there. And he's Wendy's brother, and he thought that he had lost his sister. Because a lot of what the part of this program is that the kids they have to, they have to tell their families that they're dead. So, they can have no connection to their families or anything like that. They completely cut off that and just live on this compound altogether. And then so yeah, so her brother's a part of that team. You mentioned kind of, yeah, like, Alien Earth. When are we gonna get to see Earth? When is that gonna be a problem? Maybe in season two, if this gets to season two. Um, they have not greenlit a season two as of yet, as I know of, as a recording this. But so the first few episodes are when the spaceship crash into the building. Then it's the 3 episodes in this building and then in the spaceship and them trying to investigate that. So you have that, and it's in the one location there. Then they go back to the compound, this island kind of that this trillionaire lives on, and then all the rest of the series takes place there. So it's very kind of just instill these very restricted locations of that where it kind of goes there. So that's kind of a little, I think, disappointing there because when I think I messaged you about seeing the first few episodes, I was like, well, is this gonna be like a video game where they're unlocking different levels of the building there? It's gonna be like Metroid or something like that. But they eventually do go back to his compound. Then for me, it kind of becomes kind of like eventually, as we all know, the xenomorph and the xenomorph's going to do xenomorph things and bust out and do all this because you got all these different alien species that they've captured and doing all this that they've taken back to the compound on the island, and then of course they're all going to get loose. Then it kind of becomes a little bit like I guess because it was on an island, I guess because it felt like Jurassic Park maybe a little bit there.
I think there's a little bit of that in there for sure. I think where it does have interest still in that portion of the story is in the octopus like eye creature, because it is very clearly displayed as being intelligent enough to plan and make choices and orchestrate situations, and I think that's a great premise, and I really like that creature. And I honestly wish we maybe spent more time focused on understanding it, and that has me really looking forward to seeing where that will go in a future season of the show if we get more, which hopefully we do. But then I do think, yeah, that you maybe could have spent even a little bit more time just exploring that, or kind of, because I think the idea here is there's a lot of very interesting questions asked. We just don't answer a lot of them. And if you're planning on doing multiple seasons, yeah, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You're leaving yourself room to explore things as time goes on. Um, but I do think that as far as like satisfaction goes, like every season of a television show should ideally feel satisfying and impactful with its ending. And then yeah, as an overall series, you don't do everything in just one because you want places to go. But I think there's just maybe a little more need for some climax or some answer to some of these questions. I mean, I think the biggest one is I don't know if we necessarily got the best sense of, are these truly these kids, or are they just copies of their minds, right? Like are they really them? Because I think that's the most interesting question the show poses, right? And that's why I say Blade Runner, because it's a very Blade Runner type of question, and I love the question. I guess I just thought we might be told a little bit more definitively what the answer was by the end.
Yeah. And I made a mistake. I'm sorry. So I called them synthetics. They're not synthetics. They're hybrids. So I made a
Right,
mistake
right.
there. So
Synthetic body, but the human mind.
so yeah, those are called hybrids here. And then the synthetic is you have your traditional synthetic, which is played by Timothy Oliphant there.
Another
You have
standout of the season, I think. One of the best performances in here.
who's Krish. You have that who's there, who's the chief scientist there. He seems like kind of like the main go-to guy there for like the boy trillionaire person. You have that and different performance from Timothy Oliphant. We mentioned that he's not playing a cowboy again, so he's playing something a little different. And he kind of reminded me, like we talked about before, of the performance Michael Fassbender did in Prometheus and those series of movies there. So you got that as well. So
He also has like an edge of comedy to him, which I thought was really interesting. Like he's very dryly funny in a lot of scenes that I wasn't expecting him to be. And I got a real kick out of that.
yeah. And then I mean, it seems like most in this world, these synthetics and like the alien, they're kind of dicks, right? Like you had like Ian
Yeah.
Holmes, who's kind of a dick. I mean, like what? Yeah, it's like if yeah, they seems like kind of assholes there. But
Bishop was cool, but that's, way into the future from where this is taking place.
yeah, they got a little bit of a personality upgrade. It's like, okay, you got to make him a little more personable there. But yeah, so he's in this as well. So he's the synthetic there, and then the rest of them hybrids. So, what did you think about the hybrids there? Because I don't know if I was fully on board. I mean, I like because of course with these alien things, they try to throw in some philosophy there, a little bit of that, like what is human and there. So, these kids with the minds inside these adult bodies, essentially, it's like, like you said, are they still kids anymore? Are they still themselves? Are they something different? They question whether or not they're even still human. Did the whole thing of like the kids' minds being in an adult body, so it's like, oh, look, I got an adult body. Let me move around and let me do kind of kid stuff there. Was that a little distracting? Is bothersome after a while?
It wasn't for me. I mean, I think the actors do a very good job of mimicking those mannerisms. But I will say one thing that I think doesn't quite add up. Like I said, I like the question a lot. I think the idea is very interesting. The theme that they're exploring, I think that's all great. Um, and I like where it seems like it could go in the long term. And I think the actors' performances are really strong in those roles. But where I do think that it could have been a little better is I feel like for all the money that this Boy Cavalier character would have spent on creating these things, whether they really are these kids or something else, it does seem like they're not monitored all that closely, which I thought
Mm.
was kind of weird. They're kind of allowed to wander and just kind of do whatever and move around in ways that sometimes I was like, are people? Does it feel like people aren't really paying that much attention to them at times? Like that. That just seems slightly weird to me. Just
Uh,
like, are they being? They feel like maybe they're not totally being kept track of as like they are literally being tracked on computers at a certain point, but I feel like there's not a lot of moments of, oh, hey, what are they up to? This one's doing something super suspicious for 3 episodes straight. Nobody really noticed. Like there's certain things like that where I just wonder, like, is this company is like creating these things? It seems like they're maybe a little unaware of their own creation, which certainly is a theme in and of itself. But I just wonder if they could have maybe just done a little bit more to kind of explore how they'd actually be treated in a more realistic way.
yeah. So you have Timothy Olyphant's character, who's kind of like the leader of the hybrids. Like he's kind of teaching them. Seems like he's kind of the main overseer of them, the supervisor. Then you, of
Yeah.
course, you have the boy trillionaire who's kind of over everybody. But then you also have like a therapist character who they speak to. Then you also have this other doctor that's involved, scientist that's
Yeah,
involved.
Arthur. And they're a married couple too, the therapist and him. And
Okay.
they seem to kind of almost be like the actual surrogate parents to them. At least him for sure. He to me, and I actually ended up liking his character, even though I felt like he was kind of boring in the first half. In the second half, I started to enjoy him because I felt like he was kind of this one example of someone who felt like he was actually seeing them and thinking of them as children at all times, and actually trying to take care of them and be like a parental figure towards them. And then what ends up happening to him, I actually thought that was pretty sad because he actually felt like he had the most humanity and empathy for them.
Yeah. And when it regards to kind of tracking, this is the couple here that you see. So this is them. That
He
yeah,
also
he
looks a lot like Dallas in the original film. I don't
oh,
know
I
if
can see
that's
that.
intentional or not, but
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see with the beard and the kind of the hair. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Um Yeah, so you mentioned that it seemed like with that, as far as tracking them, it seems like they just when the aliens came, it seems like, "Oh, I have a new favorite toy now." So I don't really care
yeah,
about,
yeah,
I don't really care about you all that much anymore. Like I got these new creatures to monitor and everything like that. And then you mentioned so there's the I forgot the character's name, but the guy who's Indian. So
yes.
so-
Um,
oh,
sorry, the
oh,
name's not coming to
okay.
me.
See if I can find his name real quick there. But
Arush, I think maybe Arush.
Uh, yeah, Adarsh is I think the actor's name, and
Oh,
then
okay.
Slightly was
Oh,
his
yes. Slightly is his Peter Pan Lost Boys nickname, and
yeah,
then I
Roosh
think
is
Arush is like the child's name before he was put into the
yes.
new body.
Yes, it is there. So yeah, so he has a whole kind of a subplot there where he's getting blackmailed by the cyborg Moreau to help him retrieve the creature that's on the compound, and he's threatening his mother and everything like that. And yeah, I mean, basically he gets found out pretty easy by the other hybrid,
Well,
but
he is the youngest of them too, because they say that the age range before they were transferred was 7 years old to 12 years old. So he was the youngest at 7.
mm,
He is the same level of intellectual capacity as Sean Penn and I Am Sam.
oh, okay. And well, I mean, because Timothy Olyphant's character is monitoring, like he knows that
He's
what,
paying attention,
yeah, what he's
but it
doing,
seems like no one else is.
yeah. But he's just like it just I guess depends on him whether or not he wants to report it and everything like that.
I
Uh,
did start to wonder if perhaps he might be a mole for one of the other three companies, because there's a couple times where he is like seeing something happen on a security camera, and Boy Cavalier is like, "Hey, everything looking good over there?" And he's like, "Yeah, everything's fine." And it's
mm,
like clearly something is going wrong on this footage, and he just is like, kind of doesn't tell anybody. So I wonder if there's going to be some other layer to him, which is something I kind of kept waiting for to be a reveal in the finale. But then again, it didn't happen. So I just I wonder, is that actually, am I wrong to see that there, or maybe I'm seeing something where there isn't anything, or I don't know.
yeah. Or you could just maybe just didn't want to tell him because it's like, well, he already told him. It's like, well, you got. I know he has bad ADHD and it's
Right.
like bad impulse control. So maybe I don't want to worry about something that I
That's
can
also
handle.
fair.
There. Um, the stuff with the hybrids got really interesting to me when because you see that they start to get violent after a while, like having all these complex emotions, and they have these bodies that are very strong and very fast and very agile. And you see that, they can be kind of very intimidating there. Like there's certain scenes with the therapist there as well, where the one character, what's her name here?
With the
Uh
red hair.
yeah, Nibs, who was called
Yep.
Rose, there Lily Newmark there, which there's kind of a plot with her where she thinks she's pregnant
And they
there
like
and
wipe her memory to get her to like drop it, and then but even when they do, it's like there's something not quite right. And also, if they're really those kids, could you wipe their memory the same way that you could with a synthetic? That does play into that question a little bit more too.
yeah. Do you think, I mean, with all of them, it seems like the one who gets kind of the least amount to do is probably the one that's the black actor. I forgot his name. Curly, I believe it was.
Curly, yep.
It seems like he gets the least to do.
Yeah, he does get the least to do. I think he's still very good
I'm
with
sorry, it
what
wasn't,
he's.
Curly was the other one, I'm sorry. Maybe she
Oh,
gets
my bad.
actually the least to do, actually, that one.
Oh, the one that thinks she's the favorite for a little bit, or like really wants to be the creator's favorite toy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
almost forgot about her entirely. So yeah, she
uh,
definitely had the least to do.
yeah, her and then so the actor's name is Jonathan Ajayi, and he's Simi, yeah, so there,
Gotcha.
so
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think he's very good still in where what he is. He doesn't necessarily get a ton to do, but like I said, I mean, I think there's something just really impressive about the way the actors are able to capture the physical mannerisms of young kids. Like like even if you were to like leave the context of the story out and just watch the way they are walking around or like when they run to catch up with each other, the physicality that they're displaying, I think, is really impressive.
Yeah, because they even kill people. I mean, they kill people. They kill some of the
Yeah,
security people there in it, and so they even do that. Um, Before we move on to the main one, Wendy, there, I want to talk a little bit more about something else other than hybrids. The visual effects are really good. I'd say that a lot of money obviously was put into the show. That looks really good. We mentioned it before as well. They really do a great job at replicating what Alien, because this is supposed to be a prequel, so this is supposed to be even
yeah,
before the events of the first Alien. We mentioned like everything kind of still looks like that older kind of technology. It's not like something like Prometheus where
right.
things look too slick and too clean. I thought
Looks
that was
another
the
1,000 years in the future.
yeah. In the Xenomorph, they do a mixture of like practical effects and CGI. We saw scenes like on the set. You can see like the Xenomorph hanging out in Converse and stuff like that.
Having
Just
his
wait.
coffee.
Yeah, drinking the coffee there, using the other mouth to get in there, and just hanging out. So they do a mixture of that, and you can tell it's practical in some of the close-up shots that they use. You can very much tell that. How'd you like the visual effects of the show?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. I think it looks fantastic. I never really noticed, at least I didn't think, any real flawed effects. The CG was consistently very good. And also, I feel like they used it when they had to. And there were a lot of really good practical sets and costumes and stuff. I think the show pretty much knocked that out of the park as well as you could.
Yeah. So I'll see what the budget is on the show there because
It's
I
got to
mean,
be pretty high.
yeah, because I mean, they do a great job of replicating, like, the ship we saw there that looked really good, all that stuff there. Um, and then so it says here to be reported over 250,000,000.
Okay, I mean,
So
that seems pretty high for a TV series, yeah.
yeah. So Wendy, so we see at the end of the series, she basically becomes like Neo. I guess there, the way she can kind of control, she can hack the matrix. She can starts
Yeah.
controlling everything,
I was a
controlling.
little confused when that first, because throughout the season she is manipulating like security cameras or just cameras in general and like footage and stuff, and so that was kind of happening the whole season. But then in the last episode, there's a synthetic that she literally does that to, and he just like freezes and can't move. And the even who I was watching it with, was like, hold on, how does that work? How does that work? Like, there was a pause there for just a second where I was like, how does that exactly come together? And I think you could sell the idea, but I feel like she does it, and then nobody really, like, none of the other characters like ask that question.
Like, react to it much?
Yeah, yeah, like they just are like, cool, all right, keep going. And I'm like, I feel like at least like the brother character would have been like, whoa, I didn't know you could do that, or how does that work? Or I wish there was just maybe a little bit of exploration, because I'm not totally against the idea that she can. I mean, it's technopathy. That's been a superpower in comic books and other types of stuff. So I think you could sell the idea just fine. I just feel like they did it and then kind of didn't like. They almost made it seem like it wasn't as important as it seems like it should be. You know,
Yeah. Because it's like, I mean, like I said, she's basically almost like a god. She can control this technology. She can stop like synthetics. Like there's one guy who's I don't know I forgot exactly what his role, like lawyer or like just
yeah, he seemed to be like a butler slash like bodyguard slash kind of enforcer
yeah,
role.
something like that. And he's a synthetic. He's another asshole too. And you had that, and then yeah, she's able just to freeze him in his tracks and stuff like that. Don't exactly know how she can do that really. And then also she's able to replicate the language of the xenomorph. So
And
she's
that
able
I thought worked because they feel like they spent a lot of time on how she built up to doing it, and then doing it, and then kind of showing you the process of how it worked. So that part to me I thought worked pretty well. I thought that was interesting and just different. But the like kind of magic technopathy stuff, I was like, yeah, you guys should explain that a little bit more if you're going to do it.
yeah, and then that's kinda cool that she's able to kinda replicate this language of the alien, of the xenomorph, and then I know some people were mad about this, that she basically it becomes like she uses the xenomorph as like an attack dog. Like she can just call it, and have it attack certain people and everything like that.
I
Did you
think
think that was
I thought it worked, but I thought that worked fine. Honestly, I enjoyed that part of it. I thought it seemed like to me like she was effectively kind of masking herself as like a queen, essentially, right? Something to for the hive to protect. Like she was kind of placing herself in that role. So the logic of that to me totally held up fine.
mm. Yeah, I mean, people like, well, and I don't know, and we talked about this in messages. I don't know exactly what the xenomorph is classified as. Like, is it like a animal or is it like a fully
If I was going off the first movie, I'd say animal, but then the second movie has makes it seem like a bit more like a bug of some kind. But
okay?
I mean, some of that's just going to vary depending on which director, which adapter, which version or whatever is kind of doing more with it. Because yeah, James Cameron like really went all in on like they have a queen, it lays eggs, they have a hive mind. They're drones. They're protecting the hive. So he really emphasized this sort of like insect-like structure to it.
Yeah, so I don't know how sentient they are or intelligent they're supposed to be there. But yeah, I mean, it was a little cool. I mean, seeing her kind of do that a little bit, like she like I compared it like to the Runaways, where one of the characters got like a pet dinosaur and shit like
Mm-hmm.
that. Or like Moon Girl has that. But then it seems like okay, I mean, this girl's pretty powerful. I mean, she can control machines and she's got a pet xenomorph. I mean,
She
and
kind of do anything by the end. I think that was so. That's another thing I think where they're kicking the can down the road to the next season a little bit is I feel like there's got to be some sort of consequence to her using it that way. That is, I don't know. Um, you want there to be like some sort of negative drawback, right, to balance out how much power that is. And I feel like that could well be in the second season. But I think again to maybe have that arc just feel a little bit more complete, you could have introduced like a consequence to it.
mm, like I don't know, like Jean Grey, she gets like I don't know nosebleeds or something like that. Like 11 from Stranger Things or something like that, like
I mean, maybe
headaches or something.
something like that. At least, I mean, when you make it seem almost like a psychic power, you would think there'd be a physical toll. Like, I don't know. This is just me spitballing, but maybe interfacing with whatever their language is or whatever that's reacting to does something to the programming in her body, and maybe it's having a negative effect of some kind. I don't know. It's just me saying whatever, but again, just maybe just a little something to make it seem like she's not, again, like you said, kind of almost godlike powerful. If she can just freeze any machine and kind of make it do anything she wants, and also command as many xenomorphs as she comes across, like that is like an invincible character basically. And that's on top of having a very strong, can jump off a cliff from 50 feet up and land without being damaged, like super powered robot body.
Yeah, and it's like and also with these kind of with having these synthetic bodies, they can like it's like the Matrix where you can like upload like just knowledge into your brain, so she can like
Yeah.
know kung fu and like upload probably all these different forms of martial arts. So yeah, like so I wonder what they're gonna do to kind of calm that down.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think there needs to be a balance of some kind. Now, because I like the character as a personality a lot, and I like the philosophical struggle of am I this person? Am I not? How does that work? I think that's all really, really great. But yeah, just in terms of like the plot, I just am like, well, I mean, you might just be creating a situation where she is never in danger, you know?
Yeah. So at the end there, so they basically take over. The Lost Boys, they take over, they join together after being imprisoned there by because of course, like I said, things start going to shit. The aliens escape, so they have to hunt them down, as well as you have Wayland Utani there and their goons trying to get the creature there, but a lot of them are killed in that effort to capture the xenomorph. So the xenomorph is running loose. Um, on them, and then so eventually they get the upper hand through use of Wendy's power, godlike technopath power. She's able to break them out of the cell that they're in, and they're able to kind of take over. And all the adults that you saw in the series there, except for the one character, the husband there,
Mhm.
Arthur, who
Yeah.
dies. I mean, he,
And I thought that was really actually pretty sad and one of the most effective dramatic moments of the show because he, of all the people there, I felt like deserved that the least.
yeah, and his body, I mean, he has a chest burster come out of him. Then also he has the other alien that crawls into
The
his eye, the eyeball
the
alien.
Tios Ocealis, I think is what people are calling it. I don't remember if that was in the show or if that's just a name people have come up with. But
Yeah.
I mean that thing to me is maybe is the most interesting of all the creature stuff because of how intelligent it seems. That I still I feel like that the finale almost feels more like a penultimate episode, and I wish there was like one more because I feel like it sets up this perfect thing to then explore. All right, well, can it speak? Just how intelligent is this thing? And yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Saving that for season two could make for a great start to season two. But I feel like maybe just giving like just one more little extra hint of like, oh, he does speak or something like that right before we're actually over with would have been good.
Mm. Yeah. So and then yeah, his this thing crawls in his eye. So this creature, it'll rip your eyeball out and replace itself there.
It's like its tendrils are like replacing your optic nerve and connecting into the brain through the
Yeah.
eye socket.
Yeah, it's like something you'll see at like The Thing or something like that. And he basically, we don't see it them interact with the dead body, but he basically rises up and then so he's starting to be puppet controlled by the alien.
And
With
this is
that.
totally like a realism nitpick, which not like a real criticism, but he probably would have had rigor mortis. So I wonder how effective that body would even have been for it to crawl into, right? Like he would have been all stiffed up and not really be able to move as much anymore.
Yeah. Like maybe you would see a better body you would want, maybe something like
Yeah.
that.
I
But
mean, I get grabbing whatever's there because it just needs to kind of get away, but and that's just like the super hyper realistic nitpick. That is not like a real criticism of the show. You can let that go with movie logic.
yeah. But so I thought that was kind of interesting that they took over. Do you think that those I mean, they should have been killed there instead of them just capturing it, or is it just like, "Oh, well, we're just only because we want these actors to come back for the 2nd season," and instead of just maybe doing what logically makes sense there?
Well, I think for Wendy at least, who I think is the one who, and again, I think this is where her character is really great, is questioning and kind of trying to explore the idea of what she is the most. I think it makes tons of logical sense for her to keep them alive because she wants to know what she is, and who
Mm,
else really can she even talk to about it? There's the creator, and then there's this synthetic who I think in the is the first episode or the second episode, I thought it was one of my favorite scenes in the whole season where she's in the ship before they go into that building, and her and Timothy Oliphant's character have, I think, a really interesting conversation about humans and what humans are and how they are different from humans, but then also how they're different from each other. And so I think the setup there creates an opportunity for a lot of really interesting character interactions, and I think it logically totally holds up because yeah, she wants to know what she is and explore what that actually means and for her existence. I don't see a like I could see how the other kids would have been like, get rid of him, but because you don't see them struggle with that concept as much. But I think she would be the one to be like, no, 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 we're keeping them around. I want to talk to them.
okay. Interesting. It seemed like she kind of was one that kinda moved on from it because you see that conversation with the therapist that she has where she goes like, "Well, I don't wanna be human,
Yeah,
anymore, and I'm something different,
yeah,
I'm something that's ascended, even a synthetic being or human being. It's like I'm something different, and I'll embrace that, and I'll
yeah,
be that." And her ability to communicate with these aliens has given her also this new outlook on life and said, aliens, they have a singular purpose, but they don't lie, they don't their purpose is clear of what they want to do, so they don't have any ulterior motives there.
yeah.
Um,
It
which
certainly feels like it could be a villain in the making, honestly. Like, if we're thinking longer arc, like where that
mm,
character could develop over time, that does seem like maybe the logic of where a villain starts.
mm, yeah, and we see she's got her own like little army of xenomorphs. Got also the other lost boys that she can command,
Yeah.
and probably
And you know what? To add to that, that could be what justifies making her as powerful as she is if it's really more so long term setup for an antagonist than it is a protagonist.
mm, yeah. and it's like who's gonna be able to take that on? There
Right.
and who's gonna
They gotta call predators and they gotta get a bunch of predators to come in and hunt.
Oh yeah, call them in. Yeah, backup. Oh yeah, gonna add that in season 3, season 4. Maybe the Predator from Badlands. They're gonna call him in and go like, "Hey man,
I mean, they do seem like they're kind of building up towards the bigger kind of crossover with some of this stuff, and maybe this show is part of that.
yeah." I know you said you're not too, super knowledgeable there about the lore, but how much, do you think that this does it mess with the canon in any way? Does it?
So the thing is, so like I know the lore really well for the first movie, the second movie, um, and then the problem is I think every movie after that has messed with the lore and contradicted something else in some way.
Mm,
Or at least very lazily retconned things. I mean, like just the opening of Alien 3 killing Hicks and Newt off in the credits, which has been probably one of the most complained about things in film by nerds for the last 30 years. Let alone what Alien Resurrection tries to do. And then Prometheus comes along and goes like, well, actually, it's about this black goo that can do anything the plot demands it to. So, and then like you mentioned earlier too, there's like the stylistic conflict between Prometheus, even though it's supposed to be taking place first, and yet it looks more futuristic. So I honestly kind of don't care if the show is betraying continuity or being inconsistent with continuity, because every entry in Alien after, well, to be honest, even the second movie, in a way, James Cameron doing the hive mind thing when the first movie kind of hinted at a very different sort of reproduction cycle, even that's inconsistent to some degree. So this franchise has always been inconsistent with its lore from project to project. So to me, that is like almost a non-factor.
mm, okay, yeah. So I'm not too huge. I've seen some of the movies, Aliens. I've seen the newer films, but I'm not like a keeper of the lore. I don't know all the lore things. I don't know how much it messes with the canon of already established things. I know that may be some tricky thing for some people there. With that, did you like the relationship with her and her brother there? Did you like that?
Yeah, I thought that worked very well. I thought the actors were great together. I thought, obviously, we talked about her questioning what she is, but I also think watching the brother kind of struggle to whether he believes that it's his sister or not, and whether he should protect her like she's his sister or not. I thought that was really great. I thought that kind of more intimate character work is, I think, really the strength of the show, because like I mentioned before, it's a bit Blade Runner esque, but it also feels more personable than the Blade Runner characters can at the same time. So that to me is like the strongest element here.
Yeah. And you've been a person who you have not liked any of the recent Alien output, Prometheus, Covenant, Romulus.
I yeah, I think Michael Fassbender's character David is an interesting. I think he's a really interesting character, and I think he keeps being put in stupid movies. And I would like to see his character in a better film. I actually would be curious to see where he goes, but yeah, as far as like the broader sense of like the movies overall, I mean, I honestly, I thinking about it more recently, I think I might like Alien Resurrection even more than Romulus.
Wow. Yeah, I know you said that. For me, I have not seen Alien Resurrection. I think for me, the weakest one that I have seen is probably Covenant. And you think Covenant's pretty decent. You think it's all right?
I think the David character is decent. I think everything else in the movie is like, I could you could get rid of all of it and I wouldn't miss it. But I just think the David character specifically is what's interesting, and that's the same thing for Prometheus. I think Michael Fassbender is playing an interesting character in that movie, and everyone else around him is like Three Stooges levels of stupid.
Uh,
So it's really just that one character that I like. Everything else about those movies, I kind of wish just never happened. Um, but I mean, Alien again, like Alien 3 is not great. Alien Resurrection is terrible. I think Alien Romulus was just kind of a parade of member berries that had no substance to it. So, I don't know. This franchise has a very low bar, and so maybe one reason why the show kind of impressed me right away is like wow, something that feels like it's trying and has ideas of any kind. But I think it does execute them, some of them, some at least really well. It's not perfect. I have some questions about where they might be going. And again, the next season could potentially qualm the criticisms that I do have and make me like the first season more in hindsight, even. But ultimately, I think more of this works than doesn't.
Yeah, so you think Alien Earth is the best thing
Since the
that
second film, for sure.
says
I
the
not
second?
yeah, because I
Okay.
because I wouldn't even say there's been a good thing since the second film.
Well, you like some of the video games. I know you like the video games.
That's true. That's true. If we're talking like cross media, there's been some really great comic books and novels that have explored stuff, things that explored the whole idea of like what the engineers in Prometheus were. That was way better than what they then later did in the movies. Um, just strictly like live action, like film. I think it's a terrible track record for the most part. But you're right. Video games, there's been some great stuff. Other media, there's been some great stuff. There were xenomorph Easter eggs; those were kind of fun. I mean, literally, did you see that? Like Disney made xenomorph Easter eggs, like colorful Easter eggs. When I say
Uh,
there's like a breakfast cereal mascot sort of effect with this creature, that's what I'm talking about.
I think we mentioned that before there, or we mentioned like plushies before.
Yeah.
There with that, but I think is this what you mean? Let me see. Oh no, hold on. Let me take a look. Right here, these things.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Like just commercial products. There's just such a commercialism with the creature, and so I think this show, one, I think it does a better job with the creature with the practical effects, but also just introducing some other monsters. I
The
think was just a
face
really
hugger on the Easter bunny, the chocolate Easter. Okay. All
that's
right.
funny. But I think this show it's a partially effective because there's an unknown factor in it, right? Like you bring in these other creatures, we don't know exactly how they work, and now that one of them is proved to be at least some level of intelligent, we don't know exactly how it thinks. And I think that's a really great question to make people excited to see more of this in the future.
Okay. So what will be your final thoughts rating for Alien Earth?
I'd give this a very, very high tune in. I'm not quite to peak because I think there's a few things that are a little weird or hold it back, or certain questions I have about the logic in certain places. But like I said, I think way more of this works than doesn't. I think the character stuff is really, really strong. Um, I'm hoping in the second season that they maybe just tighten a couple things or maybe explore a couple things just a little bit deeper. But I think all the setup is there to do that. And I think I really had a great time with this in a way that I haven't with Alien since. I mean, I was not alive when those first two films came out, but even watching them at a pretty young age and then seeing what happened after, it's been a long time since something in this franchise was anywhere on this level of enjoyable to me. So yeah, I'd give it a very, very high tune in.
Okay. With me there, I will say, yeah, it is better than a lot of the recent Alien output, just in terms of movies and everything like that. I mean, it's not a high bar to clear, and I do think it does try to do things a little bit differently than what we've seen in the past, introducing some new alien species there. Um, some different things in terms of like having these hybrids and that aspect of things and what the hybrids can do. I would say that, so that's a good change of pace there. It does fall back into sometimes traditional alien stuff like, hey, xenomorphs on the loose, and then we get it's killing people, and we got to catch the xenomorph and trap it. There's a lot of that kind of going on. I think it's a good setup. It's like first season feels like a lot of setup. It's a
Yeah,
lot of setup for like to capitalize off of if they do get another season, which is why I don't think it's that strong for that reason. Um, a lot of the characters, again, some of these kinks can be worked out in another season. There are a lot of like, I think the childlike nature of these characters having these will kind of maybe be done away with a gimmick in the second season because now they've like experienced so much that it's kind of like, okay, well, we're not little kids anymore now, so we've kind of mentally kind of aged super fast. So you can explain it, something like that. Um, and there's some good performances in. We mentioned Morrow, that actor. I think he's really a standout here. Timothy Oliphant's a great standout here, as well as in the series. I do think that the boy Cavalier, he's kind of traditional, kind of just rich. dick genius kind of person there. I don't mind the actor. That's kind of what the role kind of calls for, but it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot there. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of implications of, okay, this is supposed to be called Alien Earth. Are we going to see the xenomorphs? Are they going to, is she going to lead is she going to be the queen that's going to take over the Earth of Alien and all this other stuff? That's what's going to happen there? So there's a lot of implication, but so maybe a season 2 could make this season retroactively better if they do something like that, to really expound on that concept there of it being called Alien Earth. This Noah Hawley, we mentioned his track record. I do think this is the weakest Noah Hawley show compared to what I've seen Fargo and Legion, but this is also part of a larger project there. It seemed like with Legion, he was kind of able just to do whatever he wanted to do, and whatever.
I
X Men
don't
is
think he was told no about anything during the production of Legion. That was like a no idea gets turned down sort of thing.
Yeah. So it seems like he was able to do whatever he wanted with Legion, and like, well, this X-Men universe is fucking confusing anyway. Like, we ain't got no timeline to really stick to. But Alien, I imagine is a little bit more stricter kind of rules there
I'm
in
guessing
terms.
executives had notes and probably were like, all right, certain things we're not going to let you have them do like a xenomorph musical number or anything like that.
Yeah, even though I was that would have been awesome there if you had Aubrey Plaza xenomorph kind of dancing and everything like that.
I would have watched that. I would have been into it.
Yeah, that would have been kind of awesome. But yeah, and visually also, I think the show will make you, have those fond memories of Alien again. I think it does those great things with those visual touches there. That's not just memorabilia, kind of like how Alien Romulus was, which I thought was very good. And the implication of like this other creature there on the chessboard, this eye creature that seems very intelligent, has high levels of sentience there. I think there's some good stuff there. Um, I'd give it a lower tune in for me, lower kind of middle tune in there. I still like what I saw, but right now I think Predator is kind of beating Alien in terms of great product output.
Oh,
Um,
I'm with you there. I mean, between the last two movies and just what we've seen for the next one, I'm like, it does kind of seem like the stronger franchise, which is kind of funny considering, like, even just comparing the original to the original, great science fiction film, great monster movie, but the science fiction film always seemed like the more sophisticated one. And now Predator, in some ways, seems like it's almost kind of becoming a little bit more of a sophisticated thing, which I just think is an interesting trajectory for the franchise.
yeah, you have Predator Badlands that's coming out, which is the combination of both the Alien and Predator kind of thing there. So that seems to address that more of the combination between those two
And for
things.
all we know, the post-credit scene of that movie is going to reveal that this is like all taking place like relatively at a similar time as the series or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, and I don't know how much this like Alien Earth connects to the movies. Like you said, I don't know how much it does or anything. This being set way far in the past, I don't know how much it connects there to it because well, even Alien Romulus was a prequel, but this was still Alien Romulus. I think was still like a few more years after this.
Well, so I believe Alien Romulus is supposed to be taking place in between Alien and Aliens. Like it's in between the two movies.
Yeah,
Whereas this is taking place before the first one.
yeah.
Um, if you want to get technical, it's like it's taking place after Prometheus and Covenant, so it's still not like the earliest thing in the timeline if you're going to try and like arrange everything, but it's certainly earlier than the first film.
So this is it right here. So you got Prometheus is first, then Covenant, then Alien Earth, then Alien Romulus, which is like you said, it's in between Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection.
Right. And I
So
mean, like I also said before, though, this franchise has always been wildly inconsistent with its lore from movie to movie. Ridley Scott, who created the whole thing in the first place, he can't even be consistent with what he wants this to be. So, as far as the continuity goes, I'm kind of like, if it just makes up a bunch of its own stuff, as long as that stuff is interesting, I don't really care if it doesn't fit into the other movies as much.
yeah. I know Ridley Scott said that Alien Earth won't be as ever good as the first Alien. I know he
I mean,
said that.
that's probably true. I mean, to the man's credit, it's one of, I think, the most well filmed, best movies like of all time. I wish he still had the talent to do that, but
Yeah.
certainly this is vastly superior to Alien or to Prometheus in every possible way. So
Yeah. And I know really Scott had that quote about saying modern movies are terrible nowadays and everything like that.
Yeah, his movies, his modern movies.
Yeah. So this was so really Scott on Noah Hawley's upcoming Alien series. It'll never be as good as the first one. That's what I'll say. So
And yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with them there. It's just,
yeah,
you know, neither is Prometheus, and you made
yeah.
that, so maybe be quiet.
Modern movie. I mean, yeah, Gladiator 2 and House of Gucci.
I mean, even just that Robin Hood movie, which I know was a while ago now, but I mean, good God, that's got to be one of the most tedious and boring films I have ever sat through.
Yeah, I think the last movie I liked, Last Duel was cool. I like Last Duel. That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, and I haven't watched it, but I do always hear The Martian was really good. And
Yes, The
that's really
Martian
good.
was really good.
So I mean, I can't totally land on one side or the other there because I never saw it. But I mean, I'm not, I'm sure there's still some talent in there somewhere, but whoo, have there been some misses?
Yeah. So you gave Alien Earth a high tune in. I give it kind of a lower middle of the road kind of tune in there for Alien Earth. There, but we're both looking forward to a season 2. Hopefully, it gets a season 2. Let's see if it can capitalize on some things there.
Nicolas Cage back here is very excited for season 2 as well.
All right, that was everything there. Thank you, Sage. There.